Okay, your notebook should be out, ready to go. Ladies and gentlemen, 5, 4, 3. You should have your notebooks out. You should have your basics charts that you picked up on your way in. Today, we are starting Eastern Europe. That's one reason why I am wearing the outfit that I am today. This is an outfit from Poland. It is what the rich people and the aristocracy, the royalty, would wear about 300 years ago. This is not what somebody would be wearing in Poland today. This belongs to the dance group that I belong to, and so we dance in this, as well as many other costumes. And as we're talking about Poland the rest of this week, I will be in different outfits from different regions of the country. Yes, sir. My mic is on, that's right. It hears me. So, here we go. You're dealing with Poland, and you read about Poland for today, 13-1. You did the pink sheet, so you should have a good background of what we're going to be talking about today. Who can tell me right now this landform that you see on here? Who can name it? Who can name the landform? It was on the review for your map yesterday. You read about them for today. You put them on your map, what, 5 weeks ago? That would be, Chase? The Carpathian Mountains. Yes, this is a picture I took when I was up in the Carpathian Mountains. Yes, I did. This is actually, there's a little cafe in there, and upstairs are rooms that you could rent. So, I'll talk about that another day when we go over and I show you pictures from Poland. This is up in the high mountains, a lake called Morskie Oko. Yes, sir. Yeah, a lot of people. Well, you have to walk up to this point about 3 miles or so. You have to walk up. You can't drive up here. And then you can hike all the way around the huge lake and that. Basics. We have a lot to cover today because I only want to take one day this week for notes. So we have a lot of notes today. We'll go through them so that we don't have notes tomorrow, we don't have notes on Friday, and we don't have notes on Monday. So, here we go, the basics. Getting right in with land area, comparing Poland to Minnesota. Is it 1 less than or 2 greater than? 1 less than, 2 greater than. Less than, greater than, less than, greater than. Most people got it correct. It is greater than Minnesota. It's about the size of Minnesota and western Wisconsin packed on. If any of you are familiar with the state of New Mexico, it's about the same size as New Mexico. Yes, sir. Not really. It's actually pretty cool because the pants are very, very baggy. And so it's just a coat over it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, population less than or greater than Minnesota. Population in Poland less than, greater than, less than, greater than, less than, greater than. Remember, hands above your heads, and don't just lower your head in order to make your hand seem like it's above your head. I've said that many times before. Yes, I'm talking about you, Mr. Vu. Yes, I said your name on the mic. Don't make me say, Mr. Vu, head down to ISR. Your mom would not be happy. The population, most of you got it correct, is higher than or greater than Minnesota. It's about 38.5 million people. So who can tell me something about population density? Population density. It's going to be greater than. Slightly larger land area, quite a bit larger population. 126 people per square kilometer. In Poland, you don't see large farms like you have around Minnesota. Their farms are rather small, and we'll get into that later. Arable land. Arable land. Who can make a prediction and tell me why? Who can make a prediction about Poland's arable land and give me the reason why you think that? Yes, Zach. Okay, we have the North European plain. It's going to be high. Oh, yes, it is. Over 40%. Over 40% of Poland is cultivated, meaning it is being used for crops every year. Mostly grains, barley, wheat, rye, corn, as well as some non-grains. For example, they get most of their sugar from sugar beets. Just like Minnesota's Red River of the North, the valley up there grows a lot of sugar beets. What that means is 40% of the land itself is used for growing crops. 40% of the land is being used. 40% of its land area is being used for crops. Languages. This one should be easy. It's not English. You know darn well it's not English. On the count of 3, just say it loudly so that you can be heard on the microphone. Okay? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Polish is correct. Now, whether or not that's heard, I'm not sure, but we will see. Maybe it will just sound like that. Don't know. Life expectancy is slightly less than the United States. And men, you still live less than the women. And GDP per capita, there's a reason for this. GDP per capita is rather low compared to the United States, 17,400. It is increasing. The Polish economy is improving. But part of the reason why it is so low stems from what happened to it during the Cold War, which we'll get into. So, let's take a look at the physical geography, the landscape. And if I look at this slide, you can tell me 2 things about Poland right away. Who can give me one of them? One of them, yes. It is part of the EU, correct. And what else do you know about it? Yes. It does not use the euro. Good. Good, 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 good. So, here we go. In the north, you got the plains. And I think somebody even told us earlier what plains those were. What is the name of the plain in northern Poland? It starts in France, goes across Luxembourg, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Poland, Ukraine, Russia, and runs into the Ural Mountains. That would be the North European plain is correct. Yes, that's why there's so much arable land there. Now, in the south, what do we got? Based on your reading, based on your maps, based on your review activity yesterday, what do you find in the south, Ramsey? The mountains. Yes, and you even gave it to me, Mr. Taylor, the Carpathian Mountains. And that's a picture from the Carpathian Mountains. A section of the Carpathians called the Tatry. So we have the plains in the north, mountains in the south. What's the main river? From your maps, from your map review, from your reading. That would be, Hallie? The Vistula. That's right. It's actually easier to say in Polish than it is in English. In English, you say Vistula. In Polish, it's Wisła. Wisła. The Wisła River. Question. Okay, capital city. Also from your maps, also from the review, also from your reading. What would that be? Capital city of Poland. Capital city? Warsaw. And please note, it is not two words. It is not war and saw. It is Warsaw, one word. They have seen a lot of war, that is correct, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But it is one word. Yesterday I saw a lot of people writing it as two words on their sheets. Warsaw is one word. The Polish word for Warsaw is Warszawa. Now, here's a map of Poland. Poland is sort of a roundish shaped country. In the south is where we have the mountains. Here we have the plains. And this region you read about, I circled it in blue. It's an area just like Minnesota. It has a lot of some things, just like Minnesota. What would that be, Gunner? It has a lot of lakes. Mazury is the region, and it's known as, I've actually seen in travel books, it's called the Minnesota of Poland because of so many lakes up there. And I've been there a couple times, and yeah, it's just like driving around northern Minnesota. Yes? Yeah? But in tourist guides that are written for Americans going to Poland, it will say that Mazury is the Minnesota of Poland. But do people know about Minnesota there? Yeah, not everybody, no. But people, there are contacts. Minnesota has a fairly large Polish community. Yes. Okay, climate. Actually, let me step back a moment. What can you tell me about the climate? Especially, what can you tell me about the climate as we get farther east in Poland? The farther we get east, the climate changes because you are farther away from something. As you go east in Poland, as I move the pointer east, you are getting farther away from something. You are getting farther away from it. The North Atlantic Current. So over in Western Europe, the North Atlantic Current makes quite a bit of the continent mild. Poland is going to be a little more extreme because it's farther away from the North Atlantic Current, farther away from those warm winds and waters. So as we look at the climate, the summers are going to be warm. The summers are going to be very similar to Minnesota with one exception. It's not going to get as hot as it can in Minnesota. It'll be in the 80s. It'll get into the low 90s occasionally, but not as much and not as hot as it does get here in Minnesota. But also in the winter, it's colder than much of Europe, except it does not get quite as cold as Minnesota. It has snow. Winters can be cold. It does not get to minus 30, minus 40 degrees like we can get here in January and February. But it can get down around 0. And snow, especially the farther east you go, it gets colder. And the farther south you go, it gets colder. Why would it be colder in the southern part of Poland? Why would it be colder in the southern part of Poland? Mitch, what about the Carpathian Mountains? The higher you go, the colder it gets. Good. So it'll be colder in the mountains. It'll have more snow in the mountains. Yes. Our temperature. I'm not converting to Celsius. I'm talking what's called imperial units, Fahrenheit. That's the physical geography of Poland. Let's now look at The economy. You read about this too. A large number of Polish people work on small somethings. You read about it. They work on small somethings. Clear. Farms. Now, who can give me the technical term, starts with an A, for farming that we use when we talk about economy? What's the technical term that we use when we talk about economy? Yes. Agriculture. Good. Agriculture is a main part of Poland's economy, especially since it has a large portion of its country in the North European plain. That's also one reason why it's not that rich, because farmers don't get rich, especially small farmers. And in Poland, most of the people own small farms. Anybody here have a farm? Okay. Anybody here ever see a farm? There we go. Good. Now, let me describe a typical Polish farm. I'll actually describe. You're laughing because my feather is making a little shadow on the screen. Simple pleasures for you, huh? Okay. My friend is a farmer in Poland. His farm, the width of his farm, the width of his fields, is basically 20 paces. So if you walk 20 steps, that's how wide his farm is. But his farm is 1.5 miles long. It's very skinny but long. Very skinny but long. Cole is laughing, and I'm not even in front of the screen. Now Cole is beating his feet on the floor like a little baby. So we have agriculture. Agriculture. What else is a major part of the Polish economy? Like banks and hospitals and me, a strange teacher that's up in front of you with weird clothes on. That would be service industries. Thank you. Agriculture and service industries. There's one other part of their economy that you read about, and it's specifically dealing with its physical geography in the south. If you remember what the physical geography of Poland is like in the south, you should be able to figure this one out. Alex. Mining, and why would there be mining in the south? Because you have the Carpathian Mountains, yes. You read about all the different things they mine in southern Poland, including coal and copper, and what's over lit up in front of Judge Judy over there on the back table, because that came from a mine in southern Poland. That is, Skylar, salt, from the world's oldest operating salt mine. It's partially a museum because they've carved entire rooms and statues out of that salt, and you can go down and see them. You can buy salt. It still produces salt, like for on food and that you put on your table salt. As you walk through the tunnels of the mine, it looks black because the light doesn't penetrate all the salt. But yes, you can lick your fingers, lick the walls, lick your fingers, and you can tell that everything is salt. I have never gotten sick all the times I've done it. I've done it. I bought that. Directly related to this, Ben, or not, because I need to move on? Yes.
Did it have, like, statues? Statues?
If you wanted to get in serious trouble, yes. Government. The government is the same kind of government as the United States, as Germany, as France. What kind of government is it? It is not the same as the United Kingdom or Canada. Claire. Federal Republic. Good. It is a federal republic. Excuse me. Next, let's take a look at the people. The people. You know something about the people. What kind of people are they? They're the same kind of people as the Sorbs, the same kind of people as Czechs, and Russians, and Belarusians, and Ukrainians. This is also the same name as their language subfamily. That would be, Andrew, they are Slavic, yes. Most of the people that speak Slavic languages can understand each other to some degree because many of the languages are very close. The word Slavic comes from the Slavic word, the Polish word, the Czech word, the Russian word, meaning word. They're all very similar. Swuv, Slovo, Slovo, Slava. Those are all different words for the same word, but they're all so similar that people can understand them. So, they're Slavic. They're also what in terms of the religion that they follow? Most of them are what? Christian? Most of them are Roman Catholic, yes. About 95 to 98% of them are Roman Catholic. They are extremely religious, especially out in the villages, the small towns. They are very, very religious. My friend included. For example, in Poland, you've all heard about, in the United States, a lot of people give up meat on Fridays during Lent, right? You've heard about that. Well, in Poland, every Friday is a meatless Friday, not just during Lent. Every Friday. Every single Friday is a meatless Friday. You eat something with potatoes, could be pierogi, naleśniki, which is like a Polish pancake, and that I'll eventually have the recipe out for extra credit. Religion, very important. I had my friend also, when I was there the second or third time I was in Poland, I had lost so much weight that I needed a hole put in my belt so that it would work. Well, he said, sorry, can't do it. It's Sunday. Can't work on Sunday. Absolutely, positively would not work on Sunday. He would not even put a little hole in the belt. The only kind of work that they would do on Sunday would be take care of the farm animals. But everything else was, nope, can't work on Sunday. He works a little more on Sunday now that he's a politician, but when he wasn't a politician, he made very clear, because of the religion, he would not work on Sunday. A lot of places across Europe, stores are not open on Sundays. Anybody know who this guy is? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you know who this guy is. Who is this? This is the Pope. Do you know his name? Because this is the one that passed away a couple of years ago. That's right. This is Pope John Paul II. And like I said, religion is very important to the people in Poland. There was his picture in almost every single house I've ever been in Poland. There was also a personal blessing by him in almost every single house I was in Poland. Because Pope John Paul II was Polish. He is the only Polish Pope. His real name was Karol Wojtyła. And they were so proud of him that every single house had his picture. Every single house. It's just a sign of how important religion is in Poland. Now you read about this too. 1/3 of all people in Poland live where? 1/3 of all Polish people live where is also on your assignment for today. Ben. Nope. Nope. Not in the north, not in the center. It's not about a physical location. Zach? Not urban. Can countryside, yeah, in the country, in small towns and farms, yeah. 1/3 of the people live in small towns and farms. And for people in Poland, traditions are very, very important. No, they don't go around wearing this outfit all the time. But keep in mind, this was what the royalty wore about 300 years ago. This belongs to the dance group that I dance with. We dance in this. They will have traditional outfits for special holidays sometimes. You will not see them walking down the street like you will see Sorbs wearing some of the traditional outfits. But if there's a wedding, oftentimes there'll be at least one couple in a traditional outfit. They are very big on promoting traditional songs, and so there are lots of small little groups that go out and sing, perform dances like what I do, things like that. Preserving the culture is very strong. I'll give you an example. When I got married this summer, my best man and a groomsman were from Poland. And during the reception, they started singing traditional Polish songs. And everybody that was Polish in the room started in. Those guests that weren't Polish had no idea what was going on. But that's the way the entire night went. We eventually canceled the DJ, told him he could go home early because my friends were all singing the traditional songs. Yes. Yes. Now, second largest city in the world, the largest city is the capital, Warsaw. Second largest city in the world is Chicago, Illinois. You can, and I know people that have, moved from Poland to Chicago and never learned English. I know a woman in Chicago. She brought her family to Chicago. The kids speak English. She does not. The only words in English I've ever heard her say are eat, eat, more, more. Trying to tell me to eat more. Eat, eat, more, more. Eat, eat. Because they have stores where everybody speaks Polish. They'll go to a Polish mechanic. If they need a plumber, they'll get a Polish plumber. All the people that just speak Polish huddle around each other in the city. So Chicago has more Polish people than any other city except Warsaw. Let's take a look at the history now. And the reason why we're looking at the history is because we've talked about the Cold War, we've talked about World War I, World War II a little bit, and how the Soviet Union took over Eastern Europe. Well, in order to understand this region, you really need to understand the history of this region. And so, one thing is, Poland was once the largest country in Europe. Today, it is not. It is a fairly large country compared to some of the teeny tiny ones, but it used to be much, much bigger. I've created a series of maps to help you understand how this worked. There's Poland in 1500. Now, it's within about 100 miles or so of Moscow, the capital of what is now Russia. Gentlemen, that's enough. Notice, remember I said that Germany was a fairly new country because before it had all hundreds of different tiny small countries in this area? You can see the small different countries. 1500, 1600, 1700, 1795. It got wiped off the map in 1795. 1919 after World War I. And then after World War II, it got moved. Now my question is, as I go back to 1500, first, look and see where the borders change as I go through this cycle again. Look and see where the borders change and where the borders do not change. And think about why is it like that? What is causing the borders to change in some areas and not to change in the others? So 1500, 1600, 1700. Where are the borders changing? Raise your hand if you can tell me. Where are the borders changing? Well, what part of Poland? North, south, east, west? East. Okay, borders are changing in the east. Where aren't they changing? Where are they changing? Johan. Not so much in the west, but also someplace else. Also someplace else. Brenton. The south. Why can the borders change a lot in the east, but not in the south? Think about physical geography. Why are they changing a lot in the east, but not in the south? Skylar. The Carpathian Mountains in the south make it difficult to invade and conquer that area because you got to go up and down and around. So why is it easy in the east? What makes it so easy in the east? Ramsey. The North European plain, it's flat. What would you rather attack? Something that's flat or something that has mountains all over it? What's easier? Flat, that's right. Poland's geography allowed it to be conquered. That's part of the reason. 1919 it was recreated, and then after World War II, and ever since it's looked like that. So from there to there. So Poland was an early democracy, not as big a democracy as the United States, but this is going to sound a little funny. They used to elect their king. The king was elected starting in around the 1600s. The person that was elected king had to have royal blood, but they were elected, and they were elected for life. They also had a Congress that they called, their word for Congress was Sejm. And the one thing about the Sejm that made it, one, a very weak country, but two, a very strong democracy, is the fact that all laws had to be passed unanimously. New big word for some of you. Unanimously. Who can tell me what unanimously means? Anybody know? Zach. Everybody had to agree. That's absolutely right. So in other words, if one person disagreed, the law didn't pass. Let me give you an example of where that could be really, really bad. Oh no, our neighbors, Russia and Prussia and Austria, are building up their armies to attack us. We need to create a larger army. Let's take a vote. Everybody votes, but one person says, I don't agree. What happens? There's no army, and so they get taken over. All it took was one of their enemies to bribe one member of Congress. And he gets money, and their enemies get to conquer them. In Poland, Jews were given many freedoms. That's why many, many, many Jews from around Europe went to Poland to live, because they could own property. They had their own court system. They were not picked on like they were in other parts of Europe. That's why in World War II, Hitler built so many concentration camps in Poland, because that's where all the Jews were. Now, Poland is home to the world's second constitution. Anybody tell me what the first constitution? Who had the first constitution? The United States. The United States had the first constitution. Poland was the second. And like I pointed out before, their neighbors were not democracies. That's important to know because Poland, they had to go through the Congress and have everything approved. Their neighbors, whatever the emperor wanted, the emperor got. Okay, I want to build a new navy. Boom, the navy's built. Did not have to get approval. But in Poland, everything had to be agreed on unanimously, which made it very, very weak. So, it was so weak that by 1795, it was erased from the map. Boom, gone. The people still lived there, but they had no government anymore. Sort of like the Hmong in Southeast Asia. There is no Hmong country. Hmong. That's fine. Hmong. Long O, not a short. Okay, Hmong. Thank you. There is no Hmong country. They live in other countries, but their people and the culture still exist. Same thing with Poland during this time, the Polish people. After World War I, it was recreated. It was recreated after World War I. And after World War I comes what? Nope, not Cold War yet. You need something in between. Hitler, who starts what? What does Hitler start? World War II. And so Hitler and Stalin invade Poland, and that's what starts World War II. World War II started when Stalin from the Soviet Union and Hitler from Germany invaded Poland. While Hitler controlled most of Poland, he murdered 6 million Jews. That's more than the entire population of Minnesota. Hitler murdered 6 million Jews at the concentration camps, such as Auschwitz, which is located in the Carpathian Mountains in Poland. He also murders 5 million Poles. Killed 6 million Jews, 5 million Poles, and guess what? Stalin killed more people than Hitler. But Stalin ends up being our friend during the war. Exactly. They worked a lot of the people to death, and sometimes they just said, you're going to go take a shower, and instead of water coming out, it was poison gas, and just killed them all. You'll learn more about that next year in 8th grade, in both American history and in English class. After World War II ends, the borders change again, as you saw before. As we talked about that as we entered Europe, you saw how the borders changed in Europe. And after World War II, who controls Eastern Europe? What country dominates and controls Eastern Europe? East Germany, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Bulgaria. That would be, Chase, the Soviet Union, yeah. Poland, as part of Eastern Europe, is controlled by the Soviet Union. That's why Poland's GDP per capita is very low now, because they were controlled by the Soviet Union for 40-some years. They didn't have their freedoms to do what they wanted to do. The time period after World War II is called what? What is it called? That time period from 1945 to 1990. It is called, Holly, the Cold War. That's right. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union controlled Eastern Europe, including Poland. I know you've had a lot of writing. We have one more slide left, and it's short. Now, during the Cold War, controlled by the Soviet Union. If we look at modern history, starting about 1980, and you read about this, Poland starts to fight back. Not with guns and weapons, but by protesting and refusing to work. A group called Solidarity was created. And in 1980, they start breaking away from the Soviet Union. they start expressing themselves, saying, we want our freedom. We want to be able to control our own country. We don't want you to tell us what to do. At one point, they send in tanks against the unarmed people. But eventually, they fight hard enough and long enough that in 1989, Poland broke free. In 1989, Poland broke free of the Soviet Union. It was the first country in Eastern Europe to become free. It's what started the end of the Cold War. It's what allowed, after Poland became free, the Czech Republic fought for its freedom and got it. After the Czech Republic fought, Germany, East Germany fought and got it. Romania fought and got it. Poland was like the first domino that started the end of Soviet control in Eastern Germany, or in Eastern Europe. Alex. They fought with ideas, with saying, we're not going to work if you don't give us our freedom. And eventually they sat down and started negotiating. And that it could have gone either way. Now, this last part, you don't have to write down. These are just some famous people that I want to see if you can identify from Poland. Anybody know her? She discovered something called radium. Her name is Madame Curie, which you might hear about in science class. Maria Skłodowska-Curie. She died of radiation poison because that's what she was working with, radiation, and didn't know how bad it was. Anybody know this song or this guy? Nope. Nope. Anybody know this song? It is. Nope. The Death March? This guy's name is Chopin. Chopin. This guy was the first guy that said the sun goes around, or the earth goes around the sun. The sun doesn't go around the earth. This is a guy called, do you know? Nope. Copernicus. Copernicus. His real name was Nikolai Kopernik. These are two people that, once Poland lost their independence, they came and fought for American independence. Tadeusz Kościuszko over here designed the fortifications at Saratoga. Pat Sajak, Martha Stewart is Polish. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.